Hey, in this lesson, we're gonna cover the most well-known strum pattern around. This strum pattern is gonna help you play countless amounts of tunes, and in this lesson, we're gonna focus on Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses and Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl as the song examples. So let's dive in. My name's Will Ripley, and you're tuning in for Guitar Control. All right, welcome back to the channel. Hope you've been doing well. And grab your guitars. Let's lock and load it for this lesson. This is going to be a good one. As mentioned, we're going to play some classic tunes, discover this awesome strum pattern, and we're going to talk about switching chords and all that kind of stuff. Now, make sure you grab the PDF. There is a link on this page somewhere, right around this video, somewhere where you can get all the tabs, all the chord charts, and just everything that you need to go along with this lesson, all the written stuff. So I've got that all sorted out for you, and that's a free download for you. So make sure to grab that. Also, I hope you've been checking out some of the lessons that I've been releasing lately. And if you noticed, we've got kind of this stairway to strumming laid out for you. So the very first lesson we talked about single note riffs, which I could kind of play like that Paradise City riff. Right? And then we talked about power chords. Okay? And then on the next lesson, we talked about chords that you don't need to have complex strum patterns to play awesome songs. We talked about like classic tunes like Rumble by Link Wray and so on and so forth. So that was last week's lesson. And each one of these lessons that I'm laying out for you here on the channel is kind of like a mini crash course to my full-fledged course, appropriately titled Stairway to Strumming, which is actually available at a huge discount right now at over 50% off. So make sure to look on this page, find a link for that too, and just take a minute to check out Stairway to Strumming, because if you like the idea of this progression and you really want to get access to the full-fledged system, it is definitely worth checking out. So let's start out today's lesson kind of as a continuation of last week's lesson, which will tie in to this lesson beautifully, which is the chord punches to Paradise City. So we got something like this. Now watch this finger. It's actually just a one-finger movement. So, classic tune, you could definitely play that and sing along like the full-on Paradise City chorus, and you get some rhythm going and it's all good, right? And so there's a big segment in Stairway to Strumming, and as mentioned, that whole lesson that I released last week where we covered 3 songs all about this, but this is a great kind of segue into strumming and playing chords all at the same time, because you get rhythm going on, you get a classic song going on, you get your chords practiced. There's a lot of benefits going on here. So let's just start out the lesson on these 3 chords. Now I'm playing a 3-finger G chord here. Classically, you'll see that kind of written out as a 4-finger G or a 3-finger G like this. So I'm playing the 3-finger G like this, but without my first finger, and that A string ends up getting just plinked out, like deadened by my 2nd finger there. So we're able to play that out like that. And as you probably noticed, it's a 1-finger switch down to the C add 9 chord. Okay, and same thing, that D string is getting deadened out by that 2nd finger. Okay, and we can do another 1-finger switch down to this F chord. It's kind of a weird F chord, but definitely gets the Paradise City vibe going on. All with a 1-finger switch back down to that C add 9, back to the G. And the rhythm's very easy too, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Strum it hard. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And if you caught that first lesson that I released a few weeks back, all about single note riffs, we actually did cover the Paradise City riff. And I've got all the tabs there for you, so in case you wanted to learn that bit, that is available for you, but that's a different lesson. So just scroll back on this channel, you will find that lesson. So we will talk about the strum pattern to that in this lesson, but first I want to hop into Sweet Child of Mine and Brown Eyed Girl because it's an easier strum pattern and we can quickly learn both those two songs because they both have the same strum pattern and they both use the same 3 chords. So let's hop into that first and then we'll circle back to Paradise City and we'll hop into the strum pattern for that. And by the way, I do this a lot with my teaching, is kind of like start somewhere and then circle back to expand off of things. And maybe you've noticed that like in the last few weeks, we talked a lot about I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett. And first we played it as a single note riff. And then we bumped that up to a power chord riff. And then we talked about Wild Thing by the Trogs, which used those same kind of chords, but we expanded into full-fledged major chords. Okay, so I do this a lot with my teaching, and that's why I have that program called Stairway to Strumming. It's all about a step-by-step system to get you strumming and switching chords and all that good stuff. So we will circle back to Paradise City, just hang with me. So let's start with the chords to both Sweet Child of Mine and Brown Eyed Girl. So the very first chord, let's just go over the chords first. So get a classical D major chord, okay? And as mentioned, we'll have that all tabbed out for you and chord charted out for you in that free download. But there it is, okay? The next chord is we're gonna actually add on our pinky finger as the first move, and then we're gonna pop these guys over to the A string and D string to play a C add 9 chord. And leave that third and fourth finger there. Those are our anchor fingers now. And then we're gonna just drop these up towards the ceiling, 1 each. So we're gonna drop our second finger on the E string and our first finger on the A string. And there's your 4-finger G, kind of like what we talked about earlier. So those are the 3 chords, okay? So if you're not familiar with these, maybe you wanna just take a second, even just switching back and forth between that G and C add 9 is a great place to start, because as you can see, it's a very comfortable chord change. Sounds very nice. And lots of songs are made out of those 2 chords too. Okay, and then see if you can get comfortably back to that D major, right? And what you'll especially notice is that third finger is common between all 3 chords. So keep an eye out for that, because that's obviously going to make your life as a guitar player changing chords a lot easier when you can find little things like that. And as mentioned, one of those other things that we talked about was adding on that pinky finger as kind of the first move to get it to the C add 9, okay? Now let's talk about the strum pattern. So as mentioned, this is probably the most well-known strum pattern around, and that is the down, down, up, up, down, up strum pattern. It's also commonly known as the folk strum pattern. And just while I'm thinking about it, last week's lesson was all about just the down, up strum pattern. So make sure to check out that lesson. We cover some CCR and some other songs like that. And it's just like all about simplifying that right hand and just getting that on autopilot. So we're gonna do something similar in today's lesson. We're going to go over our folk strum pattern, getting that down, down, up, down, up, that pattern on autopilot. So one time through, let's just grab a G chord so we can just strum all 6 strings. We don't have to worry about anything. So what that looks like is this. Okay, so down, down, up, down, up. Okay? And so that's 2 downs, 2 ups, and then a quick down, up to finish it off. Okay, so let's just go ahead and cycle that one strum pattern just over and over and over just to get comfy with it, and let's play it together here. So we'll play it a little slower, something like down, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, ready, go. Down, in case you don't have that locked in yet, just press pause, roll back the video, just see if you can get that locked in with me right there. So that's gonna be very helpful to just kind of have mastered before we start talking about these other 3 chords and switching them and all that kind of stuff. So, but that in a nutshell are the chords that you're gonna wanna know and the strum pattern that you're gonna wanna have locked in to play Sweet Child of Mine and Brown Eyed Girl. So Sweet Child of Mine, of course, has that iconic intro. But what we're gonna do is just focus on kind of like a campfire strummy version of this tune. And we're gonna go over the, like I said, the D, C, and G chords, which will totally get you strumming and singing along with this track. So on that D chord, we're gonna do that same strum pattern, but of course we just wanna kind of focus on the D, G, B, and E strings, the top 4 strings. So what it sounds like is this. I'll just give you a demo and then we'll break it down. So what you probably noticed about that particular progression is that I started on a D chord and ended on a D chord. So oftentimes you'll see that in 3 chord songs, is that you gotta kind of round out the grouping of 4 with and in this case we're starting on D, we go to C and then G, and then you gotta tag on another D at the end. So what that means is that when you get to that end of that first bit, that first kind of loop of the track, it's gonna feel like you're playing that D chord twice as long as the other ones, but it's not actually true. You're really just starting the progression on D and ending it on D. So again, that strum pattern, down, down, up, down, up is happening all throughout that, okay? And we're switching chords by first adding on that pinky finger on the last upstroke, okay? And this is really important. We're strumming through down, 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 up 2 times, down, up, and right on that last upstroke, right there, I missed it even, but right there on that last upstroke is where you want to hit on that pinky finger, which will then give you that moment that you need to lift off these fingers, okay? So there's a lot that happens on that last strum, okay? So nice and slow on that last round, down, down, up, down, up. So as you can see on that last upstroke, I added on my pinky finger and I lifted off my my first finger and my second finger to give me that split second that I need to get to the next chord on time. It's just like if you're leaving your house early to get to the doctor's appointment on time, or meeting a friend for coffee on time, or whatever your favorite beverage is. But leave early, get there on time. Same goes with chord changes, okay? So we've got and right on that last upstroke, we're gonna do the same thing, but because our 3rd and 4th fingers are already there, those are kind of our anchor fingers for both the C add 9 and G. We're gonna be able to slip right in that G chord without too much problem. So we just, on that last upstroke, lift off your 1st and 2nd fingers. We're gonna leave early to get to that G chord on time. So we stick there. Leave that 3rd finger there, right, through all 3 chords and get back to that D chord. You might wanna just initiate that starting point. I like to kind of strum that one harder than the other beats or the other strums, just kind of initiate the start again. So and the chorus just goes to an A, to a C, to a D. that C chord could be played as a C add 9 as well. Okay? So of course there's other parts to Sweet Child of Mine. You know, there's the big gnarly solo and whole bridge section and all that kind of stuff. But that will get you playing the verse and get you singing along. And you could even just actually continue that strum pattern through those chorus chords. You could just go A to C add 9 to D. Sweet love of mine. Okay, but as Guns N' Roses played it, they kind of punched out those chords. But still sounds totally good, and like I said, you can totally crack out these as this song is kind of like a campfire version just by playing that strum pattern all the way through it, and it will totally suffice and get the tune rocking and rolling. So the other tune I wanted to show you is Brown Eyed Girl, which as mentioned uses the same chords and the same strum pattern. And this is what you'll start seeing with a ton of tunes, is that you know, not every song has a brand new strum pattern. And in fact, if you just learn a handful of these strum patterns, and I've got them all laid out for you in my program, Stairway to Strumming, and we're covering some of them here today in this lesson. But once you get a couple of these, and once you get your chords down, you'll be surprised how many hundreds, if not thousands of songs you actually have access to. Because once you get that rhythm, once you get the chord changes, and they actually share a lot of the same chords and same strum patterns, which is super, super cool and very handy for us guitar players. So what's cool about Brown Eyed Girl is it actually starts kind of like the other direction. So what it sounds like is this. Of course, we got that intro, that bit, but we're gonna hop right into the verse for this lesson just to focus on the strum pattern and the changes and stuff like that. So here it is. And we're gonna really focus on the first part. As mentioned, it's just a G, C add 9 to a D. So here's the progression. We're gonna go G to C, back to G, up to D. Okay, so let's try that again. We'll do that in time, just punch out those chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And once you get that, just 4 beats per chord, as you can see, G, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, up to D, 2, 3, 4. Now all we want to do is add in that strum pattern. And just like we talked about in the lesson last week, get that right hand on autopilot. Okay, and as mentioned earlier, what we can do is just lock in one chord and just start seeing if you can get this groove happening. Like, okay, so let's play this a little bit slower. We'll go more like, let's play it together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, G to C to G up to D. So let's just talk about some of those chord changing secrets that we uncovered in Sweet Child of Mine. And the same apply for this one too. We're gonna look at that last upstroke, and that is where we're gonna leave that chord early to get to the next chord on time. So what that looks like here is G, that down, down, up, down, up strum pattern is 100% still there. So we got down, down, up, down, up, okay? Look at my fingers right on that last upstroke. I'm picking up those fingers. to lock and load them on that C add 9, right on the next downbeat, right on the next downstroke, right? So then here I am, right on that last upstroke, same thing, blast those fingers off to get back to that G. And it's going to be really helpful for bigger chord changes, you know, like when a bar chord gets into a song, or, you know, or in this case, we got to go from a G all the way over to a D. It really comes in handy to leave that chord early to give you that split second you need. So from that G to D, it would look like this. And that D to G is such a repetitive thing that you find in so many classic songs that I think it would be very worth your while to sit there and just cycle those chords back and forth, especially with that rhythm, whether that's that straight down, up, down, up, down, up rhythm that we talked about in last lesson, or this folk strum pattern that we'll see in this lesson here. So in that PDF download, I'll make sure to kind of have the next bit of the song with the chords laid out for you. But just to not take up too much time in this lesson and to really get the essence of what it is that I'm trying to convey here, it's just all about these chord changes and that secret to changing chords, as well as that strum pattern, the folk strum pattern. Down, down, up, up, down, up. And some ideas on how to switch between like that D, adding that finger to get to the G, right? Or in a lot of cases, taking off fingers so you can leave that chord early to get to the next chord on time. And again, it always happens on that upstroke, that last upstroke of that pattern. So down, down, up, down, up. It's that one, okay? So that'll get you a really strong bump start on Sweet Child of Mine and Brown Eyed Girl. And now, as mentioned, part of my teaching style is to bring everything back kind of to the beginning and basics. So as mentioned a few weeks ago, we talked about single note riffs and we went over that Paradise City riff, okay? And that's what you heard me play on the intro to this lesson here today. So what I wanted to show you here is we went over the chord punches as the very first thing in today's lesson. And what that sounded like was this again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? And you could totally play a recognizable version of Paradise City. Just get the vocals going, get all your friends and family singing along. It's a classic tune and one of the best out there. So let's talk about this new strum pattern that you'll see in a lot of other tunes. So if you think about the tempo differences between Sweet Child of Mine and Van Morrison and this song, they're very different. Sweet Child of Mine and Brown Eyed Girl share the same kind of idea that they're both pretty fast, like they're quite danceable. They're kind of upbeat in tempo. They're sitting around like 120 beats per minute. So they're kind of like dun 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 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. So that's kind of a fast tempo, right? Whereas if you think about Paradise City, especially that kind of like grindy riff, right? That's a lot slower, okay? So what I found with slower tempo songs is that you won't usually find that folk strum pattern to be very useful. I find that's kind of more of an upbeat strum pattern. Not always, but just kind of a general rule of thumb that I've found. So on a slower tempo song like Paradise City, we're gonna incorporate this new strum pattern, which sounds like this. what that is if you kind of like arrow it out, which isn't my favorite thing to do, by the way, but a lot of students really kind of request this of me as a teacher, is to kind of like show them the arrows, the directions. So, because like really what I'm trying to say is I want you to be able to feel it, and you won't have to kind of like intellectualize it, like try to figure out and try to logically place all the down and up strokes. You should just be able to kind of like get that groove going in your body and start feeling these. But that aside, it's 3 down strokes, 3 up strokes, and then a quick down, up, down, up. So let's break that down. So again, it's easy to remember. It's 3 downs, 3 ups, down, up, down, up. So what that sounds like is this. And that's really what I want you to get, is just hear it and then replicate it for yourself. So again, we'll grab that G chord. Here we go. Okay, and so one thing that you could do is I can play one and you can play one. So I'll go ahead. 1, 2, 3, go. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, 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 down, 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 up, down, up, down, up. Okay, and again, maybe pause the video, roll that back, see if you can line that up with me until because if we integrate some new chord changes and some of these chord changing secrets and all that kind of stuff, but if you don't have that rhythm down, if you're not locking that in inside your body and letting it out on that one chord, you might have some issues moving forward. So again, just press pause, roll that back, and just cycle that. But as mentioned, we've already talked about these chords today in this lesson. This one finger movement, right? So I'll go over this next part quick. We're gonna go G to a C to an F, back to the C, to the G, G to a C, to an F, to a C, to a G. All right, so that's what I had planned for you guys today in this lesson. Make sure to grab that PDF. Make sure to check out Stairway to Strumming, which is on sale for over 50% off. You'll find links for both of those things in the description, and just on this page, you will find that PDF download. You'll find that link to check out more information on Stairway to Strumming. And so, but the point is of this lesson is to just get you rolling on some chord changes and just seeing that power and getting a few strum patterns under your belt, getting some chords happening, and just locking in that rhythm. And man, it just unlocks so many songs, like literally thousands of songs. And as mentioned, and I keep on kind of referencing my past lessons, and that's really what I'm trying to do here, is give you this Stairway to Strumming in kind of a shortened form, and just so you can kind of see the power in the system yourself. And so if you roll back, especially a couple lessons, when we really first start talking about chords and how to just get chords happening, there's a lot of great song examples for you there. And this is kind of getting into that realm where we're switching chords, doing a strum pattern all at the same time. And this is right in that zone where a lot of people really struggle. So I hope that this lesson and this kind of progression that I've been laying out for you here is helpful to you. And if you do want the full system, then definitely check out those details of Stairway to Strumming, because we go into each one of these sections in so much more depth, right? And there's just way more song examples and just way more kind of, lessons all involving this stairway. So, but I know that there's some good info in here, and I know that a lot of you guys are digging the lessons, so I appreciate your comments and your thumbs up and all that good stuff. So make sure you keep on subscribing, keep on tuning in, and until the next lesson, keep on ripping it up. Thanks for tuning in.